up, Bimbles with Brimbos? I hope everyone is doing good mentally, physically, and mechanically. So today we are going to get a little up close, I did that wrong, and personal, and I'm going to tell you about my experience as a female mechanic in the Army with my authentic Army shorts. Alright, so story time. To tell this story correctly, I'm going to have to throw you back, Throwback Thursday, all the way to middle school, where it all began. I fell in love with ROTC in like 7th grade, and I did that all the way up until junior year, 11th grade of high school. And I did drill team, color guard, I commanded classes and all this stuff, and I loved it. I was obsessed. That's all I did. I did course too, but I didn't do it senior year though, because my school gave you the option, if you had a job, you could do OJT, so you could just go to work and leave school early. And 12th grade me was like, I'm not gonna join the Army, so I don't need this class. So I graduated, and I knew I wanted to be a mechanic since I started helping my brother work on trucks. And so I looked into schools, and Universal Technical Institute was actually the school that I was like, yes, sign me up, I want it. But it was too damn expensive. So I started to look into the Army again as a career. And so I went to the recruiters, which was a light from my house. So I don't know if that's destiny or good planning, but there it was. And I asked him, can I be a mechanic in the Army? And he was like, yeah. And we did paperwork, and he gave me all the information. I told my mom, she cried. Maybe a week or so later, I took the ASVAB, and my scores were pretty high. So the recruiter told me, he was like, you could have any job you want, almost. Are you sure you want to be a mechanic? I was offended, but I was like, yeah, this is what I want, let's do it. I thought I would have to wait long, but in reality, it was 2 months after graduation, and I had a whole ass contract, and I was on my way to MEPS. MEPS is where you go to basically get doctor evaluated to make sure your body can handle the physicalness of the Army, and I passed. So that day I had my heart broken. MEPS will break your heart if you have people come to say goodbye. I'm just giving you a heads up. My sister, she was 7 or so, and I had to say goodbye to her, and I was crying for 30 minutes. She was crying, my mom was crying, my dad was crying. It was a whole crying mess. And they give you 2 minutes after you swear in, and they're like, alright, you got 2 minutes to say goodbye to your loved ones, and then we're off. And it's like, Jesus. So I swore in, and then I was on my way to basic training. I went to basic training at Fort Jackson, aka Relaxin' Jackson, aka Not Really. I might be the only person to say this, but basic training was awesome. I had a great time. You're getting paid to work out every morning, and you learn so much about yourself. You push yourself to limits that you didn't even know you needed to push yourself to. Actually, we had to do ruck marches, and we'd have to run I think we did an endurance run that was 4 miles, and I was done. I was tearing up, and my drill sergeant actually made a joke about it when we stopped running. He's like, see, Cheryl's still running and she's got tears in her eyes. I was like, Roger song. But I just kept thinking of my sister and thinking about wanting to get it done, and I had a lot of drive, and I learned so much in basic training about myself. We also did cool stuff we learned how to disassemble weapons, and shoot them, obviously. But that was something really cool, because South Carolina is so beautiful. They have amazing sunsets, and I think that's half the reason I got through basic training, because we'd be out there cleaning our weapons, and you would just see a beautiful sunset while you're outside, and it's just wow, life is good. It also made me really sleep deprived. My battle buddy, which is basically your BFF that you're assigned, but luckily for me, my BFF was great. We had a shift together, and it's called Fire Guard. You will be so sleep deprived in basic training, but we had a shift, and you had to go into the bathroom to get ready, and I fell asleep on the toilet. she came in and she was like knocking, and she actually like stood on the other toilet and like threw a coat hanger down to wake me up, and I was like, what? And like I was so tired, man. I took naps like the day I graduated and my family came. I was like, ate my food, nap. Another thing that was like really big and stood out to me with basic training is you're going to like love the people around you and make good friendships, and you're going to hate them. If one person does something, everybody gets in trouble, and it's like, can you just stand there and not talk? Like, what's so hard about that? But anyway, so everyone gets in trouble, and yeah, you want to kill people sometimes, but you can't. Another thing that people will probably disagree with me on is the food. The food was banging. I had like the best peanut butter and jelly, like pancakes for breakfast that they had, and like fruit. And then my like #1 favorite thing is they had chocolate milk. I had chocolate milk almost every day. Like, that's all I need to survive. Chocolate milk, sign me up. I'll do it again. Like, what? Overall, basic training was really fun for me. Next up is AIT, which is basically where you go to learn your job. So like for me, I was a mechanic, so that's where I learned about engines, transmissions, what fluid to check, suspension, brakes, like all that stuff. And I was in like heaven. I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, and it was really beautiful there too. I actually saw leaves change colors, like complete colors for the first time. Thanks, Florida. And I saw snow. I saw snow for the first time, and I remember I peeked through the little window and it was snowing. The field was covered in snow and it was so amazing. Oh my god, it was really cool. But we had to work in it, so I don't think I got the full snow experience. AIT was also like the turning point in my career. In basic training, I wanted to be in charge of the platoon so bad because, like I said, in ROTC, I was in charge of my class. And so I wanted to be in charge, and AIT is where I got it. On the very first day, my AIT sergeant was like messing with papers and stuff, and I walked up to him, and you have to talk to them like this at parade rest. So I was like, hey Sergeant, like if you need help passing any papers out, or if you need anything, just let me know. And he was like, yeah, go ahead and pass these papers out and see me when you come to get your room key. And I was like, the key. So then later on, we all went to go get our room keys, and he handed me mine and was like, tomorrow morning, stand in front of the formation, you're gonna be platoon sergeant. And I was like, what? So anyway, I got good scores, and I was doing really good in school, learning how to be a mechanic, and then I moved from platoon sergeant to deputy commander. Basically, I was second in charge of the entire company, which was like 150 plus people. And it was so cool. I learned so much leadership. I met a lot of cool people. Yeah, it was really great. And Charlie Rock, if you're out here and you're watching, what up? After I graduated AIT, I got sent to Fort Bragg, North Carolina as my first duty station. I got there and oh my god, it was beautiful. I'm really lucky because all the places I went were really pretty. And the weather was pretty good. It got hot. It got pretty hot, but it wasn't too bad because I'm from Florida, so I was like, whatever. And it also got really cold, and I think it snowed a little bit, so I saw snow again, but I still had to work in it, so I was like. The one thing about Fort Bragg that is kind of important with any duty station you go to is what's around. Fort Bragg has Fayetteville, which is dangerous and not great, and then woods, like forests, so It also changed my life forever. I had a really amazing roommate. Like, girl, if you're watching this, I love you. I had a great roommate, and I had a really cool unit. One thing about the Army is everybody will say, oh, the Army's stupid, and it is, but if the Army is right for you, you learn to love it. You love the stupidity. So anyway, Fort Bragg stupidity wasn't that bad. I was doing really good. The mechanics that I knew were also really great. Something that is important about being a female mechanic in the Army is it is a male-dominated MOS. When I got there, there was like 2 girls, me and another girl, and that was it as far as mechanics. So that is a little bit nerving at first. Important about that is you can either be the female mechanic that actually gets in there, gets her hands dirty, works, and, you know, helps everyone, or you can be the one that just sits there on the phone and everyone gets mad. They end up going to the clerk office where they just do parts all day, which, I mean, hey, if that's you, but don't be a mechanic if you're not gonna be a mechanic. I met a lot of good people, and unfortunately, I met 4 bad people. This is the part that kind of changed my life forever. It's a little awkward to talk about, so if you don't want to hear bad, uncomfortable stuff, just skip this part. So I worked with 4 people that were mechanics and stuff, and they invited me to a party, and basically, long story short, they planned to rape me. It was full-blown sexual assault, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through in my whole life. And I'm not telling you this to scare you or to discourage you from joining the Army. The Army is something I would do 1,000 times over again. It was an amazing experience. But I want to share this because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. That's not what life is. I kind of want people to be aware that this is such a problem, and if you are thinking about joining, like, seriously, be aware of your surroundings, be vigilant. Don't think everyone's your friend. And that sucks. It sucks that you can't think everyone's your friend, and you think that the Army would be better people held up to higher standards, but it's not always like that. So my advice is just be careful and protect yourself. If anyone is watching this has been through this, or in the Army or civilian life, first off, I'm deeply sorry. I'm really sorry that this had to happen to you, but I want you to look at this video. Look at me doing donuts in an S2000 and eating hot Cheetos and trying to teach people about mechanics, because 2 years ago I was super in a bad place, but now I'm in a better place. So as cliche as it sounds, time is truly a healer, and I know that you will get through this. After all that happened, I was pretty much fear-driven, and I got an expedited transfer to Fort Hood, Texas, where my life changed again. First off, Fort Hood is also pretty. It's nice. Texas is different than anywhere I've ever been. And Fort Hood, the base itself, is pretty nice. I honestly thought it was better than Fort Bragg. I might have people that, like, fight me on that because a lot of people hate Fort Hood. But it is not that bad. And you have Houston and Austin. You have a lot of stuff around there that kind of makes it worth it. The only downfall was it was 16 hours, a 16-hour drive to Florida. So I was tired, man. Those drives were bad. I actually remember one time I was driving back home and I was really sleep deprived, and I don't stop, by the way. I go like the straight 16 hours. I only stop for gas and to pee. So I was driving and it was like dark, and I was looking at my windshield, looking ahead, and I saw a blue turbo just bounce across my windshield. I was like, maybe I should stop this time. It was bad. But anyway, so Fort Hood was great. The people I met were amazing, and I can honestly say the people I met changed and saved my life. So I was going through all the stuff with Core and with, you know, just dealing with what happened, and the people I met they really became family. One of the people I met at Fort Hood is one of my best friends to this day, and if you're watching this video, which you should, or I'm gonna text you about it, you rock, and you the best. Something that is awesome about the Army is, like, you meet so many people, and it kind of makes the suck and the bad parts of the Army, like, worth it. Fort Hood was great, and I'd have to say, with the places I've been, Fort Hood was my favorite. Also, Fort Hood was where my Army life ended. Unfortunately, I couldn't really deal with everything that was going on, and I got medically discharged for PTSD, and Fort Hood helped me through it. They helped me through the transition from going from a soldier to a civilian again. They helped me with a lot, and I'm really grateful for that. So that was my story. That was my experience in the Army as a female mechanic. Obviously, results may vary, and I hope they vary. I hope if you're considering joining the Army and you really want to, that you see this video and you're like, heck yeah, like, she did it, she learned a lot, she met good people, and we gotta watch out for the bad, but it was an amazing experience, and I would do it all over again. Alright, so let's start with the cons about the Army. Number 1, being away from home. Being away from home sucked. I always told my mom, like, if I could have the Army life, but be like 30 minutes away from you and my whole family, that would be perfect. I would be the happiest person in the world. But being away from home was just a deal breaker. It sucked not being able to see my family and miss out on stuff. I had a few friends, I didn't get to deploy, but I had a few friends that did, and like, that distance kills, man. It's crazy. So that's one of my biggest cons with the Army. Another thing is that nobody tells you this, but married soldiers get treated differently than single soldiers. If you're single, you get automatically like transferred to DFAC, so it's like the cafeteria basically. They take money out of your paycheck and it goes into providing food at the DFAC, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, that's where you go. Married soldiers get that money to them, so they can't go to the DFAC or anything like that, so they'd have to bring their lunch or go out to eat. And sometimes if we had to work late or work through lunch, the single soldiers are allowed to like go, and the married soldiers would have to like stay back, and it's like, oh, I didn't bring my lunch today, like I was gonna go out, and basically like, sorry, sucks. Another thing that is pretty much like, I think the worst thing about the Army is the stupidity. Like, have you ever been trying to get a dots out of the box? And the Army's like, oh, do it this way. But you're like, oh, but what if I do it like this way and it still works? Oh my god. And it still works. The Army's like, nah, we're gonna do it this way, and that's the only way you can do it. A real life example, and every Friday before or Thursday before the weekend, you will have a safety brief where you will go over the same thing every week to make sure you know. Not to hit your wife, hit your friends, hit anyone, to not drink and drive, and to not do drugs, and to not rape people. Every week. You also get treated differently, and I didn't know whether to put this in the pro or con, because it's like a good and bad thing. Like, I would be working on stuff when I was the new person there, and like, people would help me, like the dudes would help me a lot, and I didn't know if it was because I was nice or because, you know, I had boobs and stuff, but they would help me out. A lot of the times that was really nice, like it was like helpful, but then some of the times it's like, I should be able to do this myself. Like, there would be times where there would be other girl mechanics and they would never work on stuff, and they would basically make the dudes do it, and it's like, don't use your boob magic like for that, like don't. Sometimes it's bad and the girls take advantage of that, so I guess just know what kind of girl mechanic you want to be. Hopefully the one that like does her own work and doesn't just have all the dudes do it, but teach their own, I guess. Okay, now the pros. The first amazing thing about the Army is the benefits. I was 18 and I just got out of high school and I didn't know how to do life, and the Army took me under their wing. It's not a wing. And they took care of me. They basically, if I had to go to a doctor appointment, a dentist appointment, it was like, yeah, here, this is what you do, go ahead. And it was paid for, you know, through the Army. And then sick call is something you'll learn in the Army, and it's something a lot of people abuse, but like, I've done it, you know. My period came and I was like, oh, pain, and I was like, oh, I gotta go, sick call, I'm sick. So it happens, but don't like abuse it too much. You know, a lot of people will do that. They're called sick call rangers, and they're never at work because they're sick. Another pro is the people that you will meet. Obviously, I ran into some of the bad people, which sucked, but I ran into some of the most amazing people. Like I said, one of my best friends I'm still in contact with today. A lot of friends on like social media that, you know, still like hype me up and stuff. We don't talk every day, but you meet a lot of amazing people in the Army. I feel like everyone that you meet kind of teaches you a lesson about something. And you also kind of find a family within the people that you meet and work with. The physical aspect is a pro within itself. I mean, what job, except for like a physical trainer, I guess, pays you to work out at 6:30 every morning? Like, and you get free access to a gym, like, on base. So there's no excuse. You literally get paid to be fit. And the last huge pro is I wanted to be a mechanic, and I didn't want to have to pay for school. I learned how to be a mechanic through the Army. I got to do my job. I got a lot of skills that I get to use now. Like, I mean, obviously it doesn't transfer completely because it's a military vehicle compared to like Subaru STI, but the concept is the same, and I learned exactly what I wanted, and I got to do my job. So the benefits itself, being a mechanic, was awesome. Overall, my experience was great, and like I said over and over, I would do it over and over again. If this is something that you're super interested in or think could be the career choice for you, I say do it. I mean, I took so much time YouTubing videos of 91 Bravo, which is the MOS, the job code basically for being a light wheel mechanic, and I like YouTubed the crap. I Instagrammed people that were mechanics, female mechanics, and I like was obsessed with it. I loved it. So if this is something that you're thinking about, I say do it. And if you have any questions, DM me on Instagram, hit me up in the comments, I guess, if that's what people do. I also have Facebook. I'm not really on it, but whatever. You guys know a huge portion of my life and the good and the bad. I really hope you guys liked this video. If you did, like it, share it, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your bimbos, ow, I smacked myself. Tell everybody, I don't know, tell Evie, because she's so cute. That's my happy dance. Alright, so I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!